Welcome back to MFO, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Well, this is the first full week of winter, and although up here we're getting warm temperatures in the 40s and 50s, it's been cold and it's going to get back to being cold. And if you think that bass stop eating in the winter, you're already beat. They do eat, but not like they do in the spring or the fall. And today I'm going to break down how bass feed in cold water. It's not only how they feed, but where they feed, and why most anglers fish winter completely wrong. You got to change your mindset, guys. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher, and when those water temperatures drop below 45 or 50 degrees, the bass's metabolism slows way down. They're cold-blooded, and so the digestion slows. Their movements are going to slow down, and their feeding windows just shrink 100%. They just don't eat as often in the wintertime. And literally one minnow can last days. I mean, a bass could literally eat one time in 3 to 5 days. They become very energy efficient predators. And that's very key there, guys. Efficiency. It's not that they're lazy, they are conserving energy. And so you have to, as an angler, think about the fact that these fish are conserving energy. Moving is burning energy, and that's not what they're going to do. So unlike the spring and fall, in the winter, bass are not chasing bait across a flat. They're going to set up where the food comes to them. They're going to have very small feeding windows, very small strike zones, minimal movement, and a lot of times it's going to be off the bottom or just very slightly suspended. If a bait passes right by them, they'll eat it. If it doesn't, they're going to watch it swim by. Now, what's the primary winter forage? Well, it's going to be exactly, crawfish that move very slow along the bottom, shad or dying minnows, but that's the key right there, dying or distressed bait fish. And again, usually along the bottom. In deeper systems, bluegill, smaller bluegill, okay? They're not hunting. They're picking off easy meals. High percentage bites. Bottom-oriented fish. Slow presentations. So again, guys, this isn't a video about what the best baits are. You know what they are. And I mean, whether you're talking about a jerk bait or you're talking about a jig or whether you're talking about a small, Kitech or Ned rig or a blade bait, or what I really like is the new Berkeley finisher. That's my blade bait replacement right now. But those are the baits to use, but you're using them because of what I'm describing here. The winter feeding windows typically, and when I say windows, I'm talking about time of day now. Your best bet is going to be like midday warming, especially after a cold night. If you can get in the middle of the day where it warms up, you're in a stable weather pattern. If there's maybe a warming trend, that's going to be when they're going to feed a little bit better. So look for those feeding opportunities. But where? Channel swings, bluff walls, steep breaks, or hard bottom areas. If you steep break, or at the end of a point, or what's going to happen here is, again, the bass are going to be very efficient. So if they're sliding up or sliding back down into deep water, they're not going to move very far, and they want it to be very simple for them to move a short distance to get from that deep water sanctuary back to where they want to just hang out or where they want to feed. The key to this, guys, is that you have to change your fishing style from what you've been doing for the last 9 months and say, hey, I'm going to do this differently. Most anglers fish too fast and too shallow, and they move on too quickly. Number one, if you find fish, let's say you catch a fish throwing a jerkbait, and you stay in the same spot and you keep throwing a jerkbait, and don't get bit. That doesn't mean move. That means switch over to, say, a Ned rig and keep working that spot and see if you can't get another fish or two by throwing a different bait. Potentially you've located fish. Now see if you can't get another fish or two to bite in that same area using a different presentation. Common mistakes in the winter: power fishing. You don't want to be power fishing. That doesn't mean throwing a jig is a bad thing. A jig is a great wintertime bait, because when they are going to be, like I said earlier, they're going to be ambushing. So if you've got a brush pile, if you've got a rock, pile, something like that, throw a jig in there, because those bass are likely to be tucked right up next to that cover, seeking the warmth of that tree limb or that rock pile. Throw a jig in there, but work that bait slow and easy. Soak that bait. I love this line that if you don't think a bass can stare at your bait for 30 seconds before biting, it probably already has. Keep that bait. Soak that bait. Don't leave those fish when you catch one. Keep working. Have the mindset that, hey, if you've caught a fish, there's probably more there, but you're not going to get as many bites. Fewer bites, bigger fish in the winter. Trust nice, slow presentation. And just have a positive mental outlet that the bass, they're going to feed, and you just need to kind of downsize. And that's another thing, guys. Remember, eat everything, whether it's your jerkbait, whatever it is. That's, again, why I love that finisher, is you want to keep that bait to a very, very small size. So small size jerkbait. The finisher is a great bait. A blade bait is great, and a Ned rig is great. If you're throwing a Kitech, throw a 2.8 or something like that, real small. The basses, their metabolism has slowed. They don't need as much to eat, and they absolutely are not going to go chasing things down. So, guys, they don't stop feeding in the winter. They just stop forgiving your mistakes. And you just need to slow down, give them a bait they can't refuse, be like the Godfather, and you'll get some bites in the winter. I hope this information helped, and if it did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button, the subscribe button, and drop us a comment. I'd really like, what is your confidence bait, your go-to bait in the winter? Love to hear from you. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again tomorrow on another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.